By now, if you pay attention, you know that our maritime universities are facing challenging times. They're having their ups and downs. Sadly, the ups are mostly the tuitions, and lately the downs, in some degree, are the enrollments. But let's take a look at the numbers. Tuitions are up about 43% on average across the Maritimes since the year 2000. The enrollments, on the other hand, down about 4.5 points just in the last 2 years alone. Each is a problem on its own, but put them together and it's potentially a perfect storm. Now, here at St. Mary's, enrollment is down modestly from last year by about 135 students, full-time and part-time, and the tuition here at St. Mary's University is $5,580 a year, with, of course, the Nova Scotia students receiving a $500 reduction in that sum from the province. Well, joining us tonight to discuss these matters and some others, two men, two presidents who have these and other issues in common. The president of the university, Dr. Colin Dodds, and also the president of the student union here at St. Mary's, Mitch Gillingwater. Gentlemen, we're glad to have you. Thanks for the hospitality.
Thank you.
Dr. Dodds, I want to begin with you. How is this perfect storm of higher tuitions and declining enrollment affecting St. Mary's already?
Well, we had last year a drop in enrollments. This year we got back some of the market share. But of course we've been predicting that the enrollment crunch would hit us at some point because of the demographics. Tuition, of course, we do know has been high, and the government, of course, is committed to have that reduced. So we've been working on scholarships and bursaries to assist our students.
Let me ask your young colleague, Mitch, what you see as the relationship between the high tuitions and the declining enrollments?
Well, obviously there's a direct correlation. What we're seeing is that students are becoming less and less likely to be able to afford pursuing a post-secondary education, particularly students in Nova Scotia that are coming from low-income backgrounds, rural and Aboriginal students. So it's a huge concern, and we're really reaching a breaking point where there needs to be an investment on behalf of the government to invest in our future skilled labor.
But so far as you know, to what extent is the one, in fact, causing the other, and how much of it is, as Dr. Dodd said, just the unavoidable demographics taking place?
There is a demographic shift, but unfortunately, high cost of education is the primary driver in driving enrollment down. Right. You know, and we work very closely with our provincial lobby group, the Alliance of Nova Scotia Student Associations, to create policy, you know, to encourage the government to invest in our students, to invest in skilled labor, so that we can continue to strive in the future years.
Dr. Dodds, of course, your PhD is in finance and economics. You were Dean of the Sobey School of Business before your present position. So as a business proposition, how long can you continue to increase costs to a shrinking customer base, strictly as a business proposition?
Well, that's a challenge. But again, I'd have to say that if you're coming to university, it is an investment. And Stats Canada have the data that if you take studies, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, that is a good investment. And of course, we're moving our offerings more into graduate studies as well, because again, we see that as an emerging market. But no, financial aspects are important, and when we took a hit last year, it wasn't just on enrollments from high school. Some students did not come back that were eligible to return. They didn't. And we wrote to every student, and financial issues was the major cause of that.
This university has been very successful, perhaps the most successful of all universities, in attracting a global market. Correct. You've got students here from 85 countries.
Yep.
There are about 1,000 of them here.
Over.
And yet enrollments are still declining. So what does that tell you about what else is going on within Canada, within the local market, if you will?
Well, the market's very, very competitive. So what we're getting now are institutions from other jurisdictions coming in, encouraging our students, because, of course, Nova Scotia has always been the education province. It's always been the province that's attracted more students in. But now we're getting other jurisdictions like Newfoundland and so on coming in, attracting Nova Scotians back or away to their universities.
There will be those, and I'll put this to both of you, who will question how long a tiny province of fewer than 1 million people can continue to support the cost of so many students, realizing, of course, that there are many benefits as well, but there is a cost to the taxpayer. At what point do the taxpayers have a right to say, wait a minute, we have to do something about the disproportionate burden that we are carrying, particularly when it involves students who come from somewhere else? Mitch?
Yeah, well, one of the things that we are pursuing is to change the funding, change the way that funding is given to the provinces. Right now it's on a per capita basis, and what we're advocating for through the Alliance of Nova Scotia Student Associations to have it on a per student basis, because where we do have a small population base and we are a net importer of students, that would alleviate the concern that perhaps taxpayers have about the cost of running all our institutions in the province.
And Dr. Dodds, I sense there'd be little to disagree with that.
I agree entirely that the way the funding is done The student receives, or the province receives the funding for the student where they live and not where they study.
Right. To ask the question that the university presidents and the universities don't like to talk about, but at what point do the taxpayers, as investors in the universities and their students, taxpayers in a small region serving, you know, a relatively few number of people, have the right to expect more efficiency on the part of the universities, something perhaps short of merging them,
yeah.
but more cooperation in terms of keeping the costs of administration in line?
Well, of course, we already do that. We have something called Inter-University Services, Inc., and does joint purchasing. So we do that as a collectivity. All our libraries are networked. And in the last MOU that we're going through right now, there were productivity gains, and in fact they were part of the MOU contract, and we've made those gains and more.
But where can you go beyond shared services, and how far, you know, down the road can you walk, or are you willing to walk?
Well, I think we need a debate on that issue. What kind of education system do we want in the province? Not just what can we afford, but what kind of, given the demographic challenges, the talent, the war on talent, what is it we want to achieve? We call ourselves the education province. So surely, in fact, we need to invest in them.
And let me come around to the question of the investment. You're an aspiring politician, maybe. I know you're a commerce student with a minor in political science. Yeah. But what do you want the government to do as a student leader, to begin to solve these common problems? I
think it's going to take leadership and a long-term vision. We can't be short-sighted in our views on post-secondary education because it is an investment. It's an investment in our citizens, and it's an investment into the future of the province and the country. You know, if we talk about problems with healthcare, about closing beds because we can't afford doctors and nurses, well, let's look at how we can put more students through college and universities to graduate more skilled labor, and it's going to be a huge problem in terms of the shortage of skilled labor.
When we talk about graduating skilled labor, there's a brand new community college campus across the harbor. Is that the competition?
That's some of the competition, and I think rightly so, that in fact, again, we're going to have a talent shortage in those areas. But, you know, the government has put a lot of money, this provincial government has put a lot of money into the system through the MOU. We'll be negotiating, I hope, another MOU in the future. So there has been some major investment. But again, as you say, we're a small province, and the way the current funding formula between the province and the feds it sort of mitigates against us.
Gentlemen, we're out of time. It's been a very lively discussion. We appreciate your participation and your hospitality.
And we look forward to students coming to our open house on Saturday.
Aha, there's a commercial.
Yeah.
Dr. Dodds, thank you very much. And Mitch Gillingwater, thank you. Dr. Dodds, of course, president of St. Mary's. And